But it's time now for Uncancelled. And this is where Britain's top commentators speak out on controversial issues without the fear of the cancel culture sweeping the rest of the media. And breaking tonight, a senior US defence official has said that the United States cannot confirm the use of chemical agents in Ukraine's port city of Mariupol. Ukraine Deputy Defence Minister Hanna Maliar made the comments following reports yesterday that Russia had dropped an unknown poisonous substance on the city, leading to some of the defenders suffering from breathing issues. Now, experts have expressed scepticism that the available evidence points towards a chemical weapons attack, with Elliot Higgins, the founder of the Bellingcat Investigative Journalism Agency, saying the symptoms described and witnessed accounts are inconsistent with any nerve agent I'm familiar with no reports of pupil constriction or dilation convulsions. But if fears are founded, the UK has already set out its hardline response, with Armed Forces Minister James Heappey saying this.
All options are on the table, and there's a value in being ambiguous, because I don't think what you want to do is to say to Vladimir Putin that the consequence of using nuclear weapons is exactly this, and so therefore he gets to make a judgment about whether or not it's worth using them.
Meanwhile, Foreign Secretary Liz Truss tweeted that they are working to verify the attack, but any use of such weapons would be a callous escalation in this conflict, and we will hold Putin and his regime to account. Well, the West will have to carefully measure its response and be certain about these claims. Russia has recently expressed nervousness about the United States and NATO's influence in Eastern Europe and America's so-called quest for world domination. So Konstantin Kisin has been looking into all of this closely. Konstantin, I know we don't have confirmation of the use of chemical weapons, but if it does emerge that they have been used, how do you think we should respond?
Well, Dan, before we get into that, we should perhaps inform our viewers and listeners where this claim is coming from. It's not only not confirmed. The reason that there was some suggestion this may have happened is not only that people were experiencing some sort of symptoms, but actually an official with one of these breakaway republics in the east of Ukraine, which is very close to the city of Mariupol, actually said that these Ukrainian defenders were holed up in a steel plant, which has lots of basement levels, is very well reinforced, full of concrete, etc. And he said perhaps we should just leave them to the chemical team. That's where the concern came from. But as you say, there's so far no real evidence that this has happened. Now, as to your question, if it turns out that Russia does eventually or has used chemical weapons, what should the West do? My own view is I don't understand what difference that makes, if I'm honest with you, because the people, if you look at the city of Mariupol, for example, it's a city the size of Manchester, population of Manchester, where 90% of the buildings have now been destroyed by Russian bombardment. It looks nothing like the city that it used to be. We have heartbreaking. We have reports that possibly, all my sources in Ukraine are telling me that there's possibly tens of thousands of civilians who have died in the city because of the Russian attacks. We have reports now of mass rapes happening in Ukraine. I just listened before I came on air to an intercepted phone call between a Russian soldier and his wife in Russia, in which she encourages him to rape Ukrainian women. He says, just use protection. So this is what's happening in Ukraine. Now, are we saying that being killed by a chemical weapon is somehow more bad than being killed by Russian bombardment or starved to death in Mariupol? I don't personally think so. I think what we should be doing is whatever it is we think is the right thing to do, we should be doing it now to prevent further loss of life. Because, Dan, what Russia has done, having pulled back its forces from Kiev, Chernihiv and other cities in the center and in the north, is moved a lot of forces to the east, and the battle that is about to happen in the east of Ukraine is going to be massive. There's going to be huge casualties among both the military and civilian populations. So if we want to prevent people from dying, if we want to prevent suffering, I don't really see how chemical weapons matter in this situation. If we want to do more to stop the Russian advance from taking more lives, then we should be acting now. And if we don't care about that, then we shouldn't.
Konstantin, you're obviously of Russian heritage. You've looked closely over the years about the government messaging. So I believe you thought it was quite significant, this change of language over the past few days in relation to the US and NATO. Can you analyse for us what's going on there?
Yeah, well, Dan, I'm afraid every time I come on your show and you kindly have me on regularly, I have to come on and criticise the media because instead of focusing on things...
Do it.
they have
important.
They focus on things that don't matter, and instead what they've ignored is, for example, only yesterday Sergei Lavrov, the Russian foreign minister, said that actually the reason Russia invaded is to end the US's quest for world domination, which is a point I've been making for some time now. This isn't about the things that Vladimir Putin claimed the invasion was about. This is about pushing NATO out of Eastern Europe, and he said this consistently from the moment he became president. He wants the US and NATO out of Eastern Europe. That means the Czech Republic, that means Hungary, that means Latvia, Estonia, Lithuania, Poland. All of these countries which are now in NATO are potentially at risk because he wants to denatofy them. So we've got to understand what this is about. This isn't just about Ukraine, as I said on the day the invasion happened. This is something that's going to affect the lives of every Eastern European, which is why you see, Dan, that every country other than Britain in Europe that has taken a strong stand on this issue is the Eastern European countries. It is the Latvia, the Lithuania, the Estonia, it is Poland, it is Slovakia. All of these countries realize they're next in the firing line. And I think it's time for people in Western Europe to start to wake up and realize that's what this is all about.
Very powerful message, Konstantin. Thank you so much. And of course, you can always criticise the media on this show, and it's very much worth subscribing to your Trigonometry podcast to get many more of your insights. Konstantin Kisin will speak very soon. Thank you so much.